All right, welcome, folks. Oh, I have to share my screen, but I will do that in a moment. And welcome to our 8-week feature writing program. This is the sort of week 0 overview class where we are going to talk about just some of the basics of the course. You can click the video presentation if you want to follow along, and if you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, or some other place like that, we recommend you come join us on Discord. Our Discord community is here to help you take your idea all the way from concept to finished draft in 8 weeks, and we have programs for TV writing, novel writing, and features, with more classes being added all the time. So you're in a stage channel right now, meaning that you will have to be invited up to speak. Normally we cannot hear your mics, but if you'd like to speak out loud, you'll have to click the raise hand icon. It looks like this. You can find it at the bottom of your Discord panel. If you are requested to come up on stage, then you have to click that accept button. So look out for that kind of green bar with a button that has accept or decline on it. And if you're on a tablet or mobile device, you may have to turn it to the side to find that. Okay, so Scriptcamp, we're a screenwriting community that takes you from idea to first draft, a more polished script with lots of free classes, table reads, script swaps, and writers groups. We are geared towards putting you on the path to being a professional screenwriter, the long path. It's not an easy journey. It is, especially right now with what's going on, obviously, it's complicating everything, and it's a long uphill climb. It takes many years to get good at this craft, so we don't promise quick solutions or quick sales, or it's not a get-rich-quick industry, but this is, we're trying to build those skills and kind of acquire the tools that you will need to do this professionally, both in terms of the writing itself and also everything surrounding the writing, such as what these programs are really good at that you can't necessarily do just writing by yourself is practice giving and receiving feedback and notes and things like this, which are an essential part of what we do. Screenwriters are, especially in the current sort of landscape, we are kind of mechanics that are brought in to assemble stories and to fix stories and put them together and to pitch on IP and things like that. So we have to be able to do more than just sit alone in your house and write something in your, in isolation. You have to be able to collaborate well and work with producers and development executives and kind of find ways to navigate those relationships and to write the best version of what you're trying to create while incorporating aspects of other people's vision that you need to just be able to bake into the final pie of what you're doing. So I would try to get used to that idea that this is a very social, very collaborative job and form of writing, and we're trying to, of course, work on craft being an essential part of how you actually get in the door. So you have to be not only really good at writing the scripts, but also everything that has to do with just interacting with people and working with others to create like the best possible version of that story. So later today, if I'm feeling up to it, I think I will be probably feeling up to it, but this is at 5 p.m. We have a mini class on magic in fiction, so magic systems in fantasy, and that might also apply to things like horror. And sci-fi has some speculative technology follows similar rules, so you might want to come by that if you're interested in those genres and those topics at 5 o'clock. Thursday, May 4th, we are doing a revising class called How to Fix Your Script. May 7th, we have week 1 of this class, so 1 week from today. We will be continuing in this time slot, so Sunday mornings for feature writing. Sci-fi class, May 7th at 1 p.m. Copyright class, May 7th, later that day at 5. Dialogue class, Thursday, May 11th at 6, and a scene workshop, May 14th, and a class on monsters and villains, May 14th, later at 5 p.m. So those are all free and public classes you should come check out, but you should also definitely subscribe to Scriptcamp. If by signing up for Scriptcamp, you get access to everything in the Skill Camp kind of server family. So any class or workshop or event on any of our servers, including Film Camp, Creator Camp, Word Camp, Toon Camp, which is for animation. WordCamp would be our second biggest server with, I think, about 300 members at this point, so only about a tenth the size of Scriptcamp, our biggest one at more than 3,000 members. But we still have classes on there and events, novelist groups that meet up once a week, genre groups, and novel bootcamp that runs Saturdays from 12 to 2. So, I'm not going to go into way too much about me. I've been a repped and working screenwriter since 2017 when I first got signed. You can browse that later if you want. So today we'll be doing sort of a truncated, just the points of interest, just the bullet points of the presentation on the 8-week process, and then we'll go right into refining loglines. So remember to be typing up your logline and be ready to copy and paste that into our chat when we share those. If you want to get that early feedback, and if you want to, you don't have to share it now. If you share it now, I'll lose it. But so don't post them yet, but be ready to. And, of course, you can also use the text channel on the left-hand side of your Discord screen. If you click that small white word bubble over the classroom voice channel, it will open that up, and you can use that for questions and comments as we move forward. When we get to actually reviewing your logline and giving feedback, I'll need to talk to you, to ask questions, to kind of assess what your goals are for that project and make sure you're meeting those, and to maybe just fix logic issues or things like that. So be prepared to speak out loud, and also just, if you want to go into screenwriting, you should be getting used to really doing a lot of this talking out stories and early versions of ideas and incorporating feedback and being kind of open to those things. So try to get good at that. Okay, so you can sign up to join the bootcamp if you want to be in this course past week 1. You're going to have to sign up for membership at scriptcamp.net/membership. That's where you can sign up for your free trial. For 2 weeks, access to absolutely everything we do, unlimited subscription, includes over 100 hours of events every month, and huge discounts on things like consultations, proofreads, and coverage. You can get 40% additionally off if you are subscribing yearly instead of monthly. Okay, let's move ahead to the ground rules. So suggestions and guidance from me based on, or to help you choose what to write for this bootcamp or for a program like this. This is a really abbreviated and kind of strict time frame to do something as big as, especially if you're new at this, writing a full feature script. It's like creating an hour and a half worth of high quality entertainment, in theory at least, is not the easiest thing, not the simplest thing. This takes a lot of practice, and 8 weeks just doesn't give you a lot of time for things like research or for getting every single fact right. So I say don't write a true story. Don't do something that you feel the need to get exactly right to do justice or to do honor to some real person or some, group of people that you feel need this story. Don't try to write an important story in the 8 weeks of the class, I guess. You can of course try your best and make it as good as you possibly can, but look at these as practice. Don't think that you're going to write something that's going to make your career overnight. If you're brand new at this, someone's first painting is not going to get hung in a museum. The bar and the standards are really, really, really high for this, and it's a very kind of unintuitive sort of writing in a lot of ways. Most people don't grow up reading screenplays the same way they do with books or things like that. So, this just it's like learning a new language in a lot of ways, or learning an instrument. And if it were an instrument, it would be the violin, because it takes a while to just be able to produce a sort of clear, consistent tone that doesn't sound like, a dying cat. Like when you're a kid, you try violin in the first 8 weeks or whatever, it sounds miserable, right? Well, screenwriting's similar. It's not like you can just make it sound like music very easily if you don't know exactly what to do. So get used to that and try to move beyond the idea that any script needs to be a masterpiece. These scripts are our ideas should kind of be a dime a dozen in a way. It's not that we can't care about them. It's just that if you're trying to work towards being a professional, you have to get used to the process, and you have to learn to organize. And you have to learn these strategies towards working through a script and outlining and planning and then executing that within a reasonable amount of time, which is 8 to 12 weeks for a first draft is pretty standard for the industry. So that's why we sort of have set the bootcamp at that length. And just try your best. If you fall behind, it's okay. There's no grades. You're not going to get slapped with a ruler if you until we have the technology for me to slap you with a ruler through the screen. Then you will be just you're accountable only to yourself, and you will be just trying to keep up with the milestones. But if you fall a little behind, you can always join the next session if you need to. Furthermore, if you are going to continue in the class past the first week, so you don't have to do this today, but if you want to stay and continue in the course, you should use your real name. I mean, we can't use screen names in the industry, or at least use something like a nickname. If you really don't want to use your real name, you can right-click your username to change it, or we can do it for you. Okay, so try to just pick a brand new idea. Don't bring a rewrite generally. I mean, you can bring a rewrite. It will just be much harder for you, and I recommend, because this course the instruction is tuned not towards revision and working with notes and things like that, but towards writing something brand new. So if you have a choice, pick something new. Maybe some fun, crazy idea that you feel would just keep you excited and allow you to keep your momentum up for the 8 weeks that you'll be working on it. So avoid true stories, anthologies, or adaptations of any kind. Don't do time travel, believe me. Just don't. every time somebody takes this as a challenge, they're like, oh, but I'm going to do time travel. And they always regret it. We've never seen someone even finish a time travel script in the class. And you just don't want the majority of the notes that you get to be on things like paradoxes and the basic logic of what's going on, rather than the stuff that we really need to focus on. So it just makes your feedback much harder to give if there's a really complex system of rules in place in your story that is tough to keep consistent. It's really difficult to keep consistent through revisions. So just don't do time travel. Probably don't do a historical unless you have some background in that knowledge, or all you read is Napoleonic books, so you have a really good sense of the Napoleonic era or something like that. You can, that might help, but it's, again, just going to require more research typically to do historicals, so it's more difficult to do in 8 weeks. And beware of things that just make your life hard on the page. Clones, parallel universes, anything where there's multiple copies of the same people, scripts that have tons of flashbacks, or a flashback structure that is contingent on its multiple timelines or things like that. Be really careful with those, because those are, again, really difficult to keep straight, especially if you're newer at this, and especially if you're writing the script in 8 weeks. But just take a big swing. Write something fun, wacky, and crazy while building the skills and fundamentals. Why not? This is a stage in your careers where you can do anything. You have a lot of freedom right now. And as a result, you should be picking stuff that's just fun and that just reminds you why you wanted to do this in the first place. So don't fall way too in love with your ideas for classes like this, because just, it's probably not going to be a movie. It's not going to be produced as a feature film. We have to acknowledge that and move forward with that in the back of our minds, that there's like 35 spec sales a year in Hollywood, and they're almost all by very established writers. So we're just looking at this as practice. It's like running laps and building the muscles that you will need to get better at this. Okay, hopefully everyone's clear on that. So here's the steps. These are the same no matter what we're writing: features, pilots, plays, books. Start with a logline, which is the one-sentence expression of the idea that sort of answers the question, what is this about? That's followed by the sketchbook, which is a kind of unformatted collage of all your ideas, research, inspiration, pictures, links, documents, articles, videos, and just ideas for characters, dialogue, scenes. You're going to try to be assembling the story by just throwing down everything that you have, everything you know, or everything you would like to perhaps include, even if you don't know how it's going to yet fit into the full picture of the thing. So the sketchbook should just be one single document. We don't want to have a bunch of different documents all over the place. So you can actually make that now. Let's make them now. So go to Google Docs. Let's do this. Do I have a slide on this? Here it is. Open Google Docs and make a brand new document. You're going to call it Title of the Movie Sketchbook. If you don't have a title, you can call it Untitled Vampire Comedy Sketchbook or whatever you want. At the top of this document, you just should include these basic categories, and you're going to fill these in as soon as you can, and maybe throughout class today, maybe by next week. You have title, genre, logline, and comps. Logline is that one-sentence expression of the premise. Comps are comparable titles that are going to sort of help us assess what the goals are for your project in terms of tone and content. So you're going to say, if this is like this movie meets that movie, you might think of it as like the world of the first thing, but with the style, tone, or approach of the second thing. That's not a hard and fast rule, but that's just how I've thought of it in the past before and have had some success thinking of it that way. So you might think, like Lord of the Rings meets True Detective equals a detective story set in a fantasy world. Does that make sense? So like the first thing might be just the setting or the arena that we're in. The next one is how we're going to approach that. But if that doesn't work for you, then don't worry way too much about it. But if your comps are going to help us assess, if you only have comedy comps and your logline doesn't sound funny, then we're going to be like, you're not meeting your goals there. It seems like something's off. So comps are important, and try to narrow it down to 2, but you can include others in like a sort of short list of runner-up comps. You can say it's like, I don't know, Die Hard meets Trading Spaces, but is Trading Spaces or Trading Places? One's a TLC show, one was the movie with Eddie Murphy. I can't remember which one's which. But in any case, that would be kind of fun. It'd be like a cop trades lives with a criminal. I guess it's like Prince and the Pauper, but with a cop and a criminal. That looks similar. That'd be cool, actually. Anyway, someone do that. Someone do Die Hard meets Trading Places. But regardless, you see that. Try to just pick those 2. You can include other comps in your shortlist that are like, also might consider this has elements of blank and blank and blank. So you can just have like some suggestions for comps. Anyway, so yeah, make your sketchbook and try to fill these things out. We have a question in the chats about table reads. Those are Sundays at 2, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nacho.
Correct.
Correct.
And,
Go ahead.
This week, so one of the things about ScriptCamp is you can also post table reads of your complete feature or TV pilot. So everyone is welcome to submit, to 5 pages. So we do table reads of, short excerpts from a lot of scripts. And once you've been participating for a while and giving feedback and moving parts and stuff, you earn these little script coins, and then you can use them to host a reading of your complete script. And this week we're doing a feature script by one of our members, Terry, and it's a cool animated feature. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be at 2 p.m.
Thanks, Nacho. So we have our scriptocurrency, as I now prefer to call it, which is like a dumb little device to get people interacting on the server, giving feedback. You earn your scripto coins or whatever, and then eventually you can, if you get 100 of them, you spend them on a table read, you get a bunch of people together, they'll read your script and give you feedback. So, plenty of stuff to do on ScriptCamp besides just attending classes, though you should definitely sign up. scriptcamp.net/membership and get your free trial to get unlimited access to everything here. You can still attend table reads, you can still attend workshops and events even if you're not a subscriber, but you will not be able to attend things like Lab on Saturdays from 4 to 6, where you can bring anything you're working on for feedback, and you can also ask any questions or topics you want to hear about. Also, any course or any class past just the opening weeks of the bootcamp, you must be a subscriber. All right, hopefully we all understand the basics of that. Let's get into loglines. Should I stop for questions first? Does anyone have any questions so far? Feel free to either unmute or to... Oh, here's a question from Taylor. Go ahead.
Hey, so I know you had mentioned, kind of choosing something that you're not going to have to, do a ton of research on.
Mm-hmm.
But for this, I kind of wanted to experiment with a genre that I don't write much, which is sci-fi. Do you recommend doing a genre you're not, too experienced with?
Are you a big fan of it?
Yeah, I like sci-fi. I could definitely watch more. I mean, I've seen all the classics, but it's something that I've been wanting to write for quite a while, that I have kind of plotted out in my head. So I think it would be okay, but I'm just kind of wondering, what's your take on doing a genre that you haven't written much of?
I would say definitely. Yeah, you for sure should. It's a great place to experiment and try something like that. That's why my only question is, are you a fan? The only time I would say to not write it is if you're like, no, I don't really like sci-fi, but I was thinking of writing one. But that would be ridiculous, right? That'd be silly to, I think, at least, to write a genre you're not into. But if you're into it, yeah, absolutely. Try a genre that you've always wanted to try. That's a great idea.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure. We have a question from Red Dead Titan.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hey, it's Tom. Lost my old account. I'm back. Anyway, this is a little off topic. Wait, since my audio output isn't right, give me a sec.
You sound fine to me.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Anyways, a little off topic, but I was wondering how long would table reads usually last? Because I have work from 4 to 7 p.m. EST.
Oh, they go for, I think, 2 to 3 hours most of the time. Table reads tend to go longer than you think they will. So, I think if you're working 4 to 7 EST, I think they start at 5. So my thought is that you'd be working while they're going on. But maybe you're asking, maybe after work you want to see if they're still going on?
Yes.
Okay, there's a chance they might still be going on, but they'll be towards the end.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Tom has also asked in the chat, what's my favorite color? It's green. You can always count on script campers to ask the hard-hitting questions. Everybody knows Luke is at his coolest when in Return of the Jedi, when he gets the green lightsaber. That's when he levels up to being badass, right? Also, when I was a kid, I always had the green lightsaber, and my brother had the red one, I think. When we had the toy ones. When you were a kid, I guess that tells us a lot about you. It's almost like your Harry Potter house, isn't it? Nacho, what color was your toy lightsaber?
What color is my what?
Did you have a toy lightsaber when you were a kid? Did you like Star Wars as a kid?
I thought you said a Twilight saber.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Wait,
No.
Is that a combination mashup of? Yeah. No. I was always like the kid in the window, watching the other family where all the little kids had lightsabers.
You weren't allowed to go outside and play with them?
No, I was outside in the snow watching the family. The other families. We weren't allowed to play with kids.
Dang. Okay. So you were sort of the Anakin Skywalker of that situation.
I had my first job at 10 years old, man.
Really? We're learning a lot today.
Yeah.
Well, dang. I've got to ask you more about that later. Okay, where are we? My brain is turning into goop. Let's. It looks like we have no more questions at the moment, so let's. Oh, Taylor had the Darth Maul as a kid. That means you're going to grow up to be a Sith Lord, I think. Okay, let's. It seems like we have no more questions, so let's go into loglines. So it's your story's central conflict distilled down to a sentence. It should essentially tell us who's this about, what are they trying to do, what's standing in the way. One sentence. You can do it in one sentence, unless your script is astronomically complicated, at which point chances are it might be too complicated. If it's so complicated that it takes two sentences, your premise might just be either too vast for a movie, or it could be that chances are it's not that. Chances are it's that you just need to express it better, or you're including things that don't matter too much. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Why bother with a logline? Well, because you need it, all right? Just trust me. Okay, so let's go to the template for the logline. When or after inciting incident, an adjective protagonist must conflict before stakes or ticking clock. That's kind of our bread and butter as what a logline should look like. There's some variation on this, and not all loglines are written by the writers. You can't just go to IMDb and look up what the logline was for the spec version of that script, if that script even began as a spec at all. So don't expect to always be able to find perfect versions of these online, or to look at IMDb and say, oh, that must be the logline for this movie. No, those are just sometimes written by people in the marketing of that movie, marketing sort of, department of that movie. Some are written by, if you see it on a list, such as Blacklist or Hitlist, it might be written by that writer's agent or manager. Some of my scripts that have gone out and been set up in town, I have not even been the final writer of the logline, and I don't even love some of the loglines that have gone out. In any case, we just are trying to use it for two things. One, to keep yourself on course for your story, make sure you're not deviating or drifting too far from your original intention, and we're also sort of using it as a litmus test for, is this going to be a good script in the first place? I mean, a well-written logline is, chances are, written by a better writer than a poorly written logline, so we have to, you're more likely to have it read and have people care if it is well-constructed. Okay, let's answer any question. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say about loglines before we share them. This is just kind of a breakdown of some of those elements that I just mentioned, and how you might start thinking of structure in your outline. You don't have to think way too hard about this right now, but a good logline will give you a head start on outlining, because it has that kind of really kind of almost formulaic nature of how it is laid out. Gives you some of the major plot points right here. When or after inciting incident, so that's the catalyst. That's going to be like pages 10 to 15 in modern spec writing a lot of the time. An adjective protagonist, well, that's what we're setting up in the intro section. So if your character is going on some kind of journey or change, then we need to know how they start that journey to understand where they will end up. So that's why if we were talking about A Christmas Carol, we would say a grumpy old miser named Ebenezer Scrooge, right? When he's visited by three ghosts, he must, traverse through his life and kind of, I wonder how exactly we would phrase what he needs to do in terms of a tangible objective. But you can tell that, obviously, the conventions have changed over time for storytelling. Modern high-concept screenplays operate best when there is a foundation of a logline to work from, which is sort of the simplest expression of that story. And it's going to focus really on tangible goals and concrete finish lines, so we can understand this character is trying to accomplish this external thing, and you are sort of implying the internal journey. You don't need to spell out the internal journey for us. If we say it's about, I don't know, a rich miser who ends up, when he loses everything, he has to get a job at McDonald's. Maybe that's the movie. And so he has to work his way back up to being the CEO of McDonald's. Well, okay, we would want to sort of start the logline with the inciting incident. So when he gets fired, or when his company, when there's a hostile takeover of his company, a miserly or grumpy, we only have one or two adjectives to use, so be careful. A miserly CEO the must is going to help us understand what the urgency of your character's situation. So it's helpful to use this word must or struggles to or something like that, which will imply that this is a very important conflict for them. It should feel like it has as high stakes and urgency as your genre sort of requires, which most of them are going to require. Movies are typically about the most important events in someone's life so far. That's not always true. There are exceptions to that, but a lot of the time it has to feel like an important journey. So must or struggles to is a good sort of phrase to lean on. And then you would say what they need to accomplish. He must make $500,000 by the end of the year in order to get his job back, whatever it is that your character's goal is. And it should feel tangible and like we can watch someone do that thing. So it shouldn't be something like your character must understand something or must come to terms with something. Those are purely internal processes. So we want to explain what the external, tangible journey is that they're going on. Excuse me. And we're implying that internal journey. Okay, I think I am going to just pause for any more questions or clarification on loglines. Then we're going to share what we have, and I'm going to give that early feedback before my brain runs out of brain juice. So, any last questions or clarification you guys want on loglines or how they work? Buddha 314 is recommending I drink coffee. I actually don't like coffee at all. I can't do it with coffee. No, nothing bitter. I can't drink beer either. Okay, if there's no more questions or clarifications, we will post loglines in the chats. And I'm going to paste them into Drive just so we can all look at them, although I may not be marking them up too much today. All right, so go ahead and post them now. Thank you, Becky. And Tom, thank you. And thank you, Buddha. Looks like we may have a question from Pixelated Pickaxe. Go ahead.
So I was just curious if what I posted works. I mean, I see everyone else has these boxes around their prompts. I wasn't sure how they do that.
I'm actually not sure either. Don't worry, you don't have to do that. Let's just start with yours then. Let me bring it up. Okay, so is there a title and genre with this?
Yeah, I started one. Still working on the overall. It's the temporary title, so yeah.
Okay, what's the temporary title?
At the moment, I called it Jungle Jailbreaks because it takes place in a city in a jungle.
Okay, Jungle Jailbreaks. And what's the genre?
It's post-apocalyptic.
So, like horror or sci-fi, or so maybe
Like,
think. Go ahead.
Horror, preferably. Yeah.
Horror. Okay, got it. Go ahead and read the logline for us.
After waking up in a zombie apocalypse, a scared spiritual medium struggles to defend herself and adapt to changes to the world around her before she can attempt to save the world using her own hidden talents.
All right, thanks for sharing this. So, a couple things. To begin with, anyone would be scared in a zombie apocalypse, so the fact that you're saying she's scared doesn't really tell us much about the character. Does that make sense? So we want to pick an element of their personality, or like something that they're struggling with, or some unique limitation, or something like that. So try to maybe just change it. You pick a different adjective when you don't have to solve this now, but that's just a suggestion for describing the character. The other thing is, so you say she wakes up in a zombie apocalypse. What does that mean exactly? Does that mean she was like in a coma?
So like I was thinking something along the lines of like she woke up from a deep sleep. So like she was recovering in a hospital and then she wakes up randomly and then the world just changed drastically.
Okay, you can do that. I will just say that's how both 28 Days Later and The Walking Dead both start. So this is like a really, really familiar opening for this kind of story.
Oh,
So,
really? Okay.
yeah. So it's two of the most famous zombie stories both start that way. So you it's not to say you can't do
I
it.
haven't seen either of those, so. I
Okay,
can't
that
say.
also would be two of the most. I would watch a little more of the genre just to get a really
Okay.
clear understanding.
So
Go ahead.
what I was thinking originally was like she wakes up, as in like she's like in her bed, so like not in the hospital bed, but like you know in her personal like chamber sort of deal.
So what you really mean is when zombies attack is the inciting incident. The character
Essentially,
waking up
yeah.
isn't the inciting incident. Okay. So when
Yeah.
when a zombie virus decimates America would maybe be a better opening
Okay,
line for you,
got
something
it.
like that. That's the actual event that starts the story. So we don't want to imply false causation, where it's not like her waking up is what causes it to happen, and it's also not really relevant.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So, other things. She struggles to defend herself and adapt to the changes in the world around her are all things that everyone would do, and we would definitely assume your character was doing without even having to tell us that. So, I would think more along the lines of getting right to her specific and tangible goal. What does she have to actually do in order to, you're saying, save the world using her talents? So, how is she going to go about that?
I was honestly envisioning so her hidden talents involve like cleansing those who are like struggling and like finding their souls. So like I was thinking like something along the lines of she's able to fend off the zombies using those abilities.
Okay, so but she still should have a clear, tangible objective in the story. And in zombie stories, there's different ways you can do this. Sometimes it's based around finding an antidote or cure.
But what
Like
I was thinking with the objective, anyways, was something along the lines of, so like, she's looking for other survivors who she can, keep her in check, I guess.
who can keep her in check. I'm not quite sure what that would mean in this context. So I would just
Well,
maybe
like-
go ahead.
How would I explain it? Basically, she wants like survivors that she can get along with and can protect her in a sense.
Okay, so same as everybody wants. We all want a group to help to a community or a group to be part of. Okay, but is that her? That's really the final goal? I thought it was about saving the world.
Yeah, and then she discovers she can save the world later, of course.
Okay.
After she meets the other people.
So it sounds like meeting this other group of people may not be relevant for the logline. Just focus on the character's goal, unless it's like she meets somebody and by working with them she can save the world or something like that. If there's some sort of central.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh, that is what
It's
you're
like
thinking. Okay.
So she meets this group of people, and then they are able to help her use her abilities to put an end to what's going on.
Okay. So I'm not sure what that would look like or how that would work. So you may just need to do some thinking on the specificity of
Okay.
your character's
Yeah,
goals.
that makes sense.
So do they have to find? This is where we want to get down to as clear cut brass tacks as like, do they have to find a magic crystal? Do they have to pour an antidote into the water supply? You see, we have to like just find what specifically they have to do.
Okay.
Cool.
Makes sense.
So yeah, just get more concrete, make those really clear, tangible goalposts really apparent, and the logline should come together really well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. Okay. We have a couple more loglines posted. Thank you, Jadea and Jay. Okay, I'm gonna try my best, guys. So, I'm going to go in the order that they were posted. Okay, so our who was the first one who shared after I asked? Was it Becky? All right, go ahead, Becky.
Hello.
Hi. You want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, so, I know the logline is way too long. It's still very early development. It's based on a short story I wrote. that I wrote with a friend that we want to turn into a very low budget feature. So all B12 has ever known is life living with her mum, sheltered from the radiation outside. But she spots a man walk. But when that's meant to be when she spots a man walking around through the gap in her covered up windows, she begins to doubt all she's been told. But as she uncovers the truth, her mum becomes more angry and paranoid. B's biggest threat goes from the outside to the woman raising her in her home.
All right.
And I'm not
Go ahead.
it's called Sunshine.
One more time. What was the title?
Might help. Sunshine.
Sunshine. Okay.
Yeah. The premise of the short was, what if we'd heard an article about what happened if there was like a massive explosion of another sun nearby, and it would cause like intense radiation. So that's where our premise started. But by the end of the time we'd written the short ended with some of the people here have read it. Ended with he starting to question whether it really happened, and at the end she walks out of the house. And we don't know whether, her mum was lying to her, or whether the outside was really radiation and she died. But in the film version, we would be going on the premise that actually it's not her mum and she has been lying to her. So she believes that there's radiation outside and they're living in this sheltered house and her mum is keeping up this ruse. But actually it's because she's a kidnapped kid as a baby and mum's been keeping her hidden away, and all the neighbours just think she's a weird neighbour,
Mm-hmm.
And the whole film would take place, the exception of maybe the scene when she finally leaves. The whole point is it's low budget, minimal characters. I might introduce a third character just to have a bit more dynamics, but yeah, that would be the concept. It's literally just like enclosed and easy to film.
Okay,
so we're going to film it.
Okay, so what is the genre?
I thought psychological thriller. It's that kind of, the kids sort of discovering, and the more that it'd be very tension driven, the more she learns about, the more aggressive and frightening her own mum becomes. So it sort of goes from her being afraid of the outside to actually her starting to become afraid of her own mum, as her own mum starts to unravel, as B starts to learn the truth.
Okay. I think I can essentially see it, but this is, for a premise this simple, you definitely don't need this many sentences to express it.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
It's really long. So I'm trying to get through the fact that it's, to begin with, is almost a sci-fi setting, with them hiding away, but it's actually not.
Yeah. So that, to me, makes this, this is, the movie is just a girl in a house with her mom. Unless we're actually interacting with some sort of sci-fi element, I think psychological thriller is probably the best way to describe this, because I wouldn't really consider this a sci-fi movie if this is just a girl in a house with her mom. No. It's,
go ahead. As I say, the only sci-fi element is the lie that she's been told as to why she's there. So the house is all like covered up with planks and tinfoil, and the mum has implied that they are protecting themselves from radiation, so it's dark and gloomy. And
sure, I understand, but so let me ask, you're setting up, is this, you mentioned she sees a guy walking around, is this another character in the movie, or are you implying this person's important somehow, or no?
Yes, so in the short that we wrote, the thing that made us start to question, she sort of peeled back a bit of the tinfoil on the window so that she can peek outside. And one time during one night, she actually sees someone peering in. And then there's a knock at the door where someone's asking if there's any children in the home. And the mum pretends it's the army doing their rounds. And they get food delivery. And the mum says, oh, it's the army dropping off supplies. So there are people outside. and the mum puts on a contamination suit every time every time she's gonna go out, but basically she's kind of lying to her all the time. So
Right. I understand, but so let's go back to the question: is this a character in the movie or not? Is this person important or no?
yes, yeah, he's the inciting incident. Her seeing him is what starts her questioning, and he might be one that I might start to bring back a few times.
That I guess that's what I'm. And maybe I guess you're saying you haven't decided then yet if this character is an important person in the movie.
No, we're trying to turn the short into a feature. We imagine that actually this character might need to come back a few times. Maybe it's a concerned neighbour or something that's trying to make contact with her. So probably will be, yeah, because it might be quite hard to write just with the two characters.
It will be, certainly, but especially when there's the mystery at play is so simple. It's sort of just like, has the world ended? Yes or no? And like, that's pretty easy to assess, I would say. In any case, though, so it's not like I just mean if you have a contained mystery thriller, then like normally there needs to be a little bit more of a substantial mystery, unless I mean, and I'm thinking in terms of movies like Sleuth from 1972, based on the Anthony Shaffer play, one of the best movies in my opinion. It's two guys in a house talking, but there is actually kind of a complex mystery going on. There's like layers to unravel. There's like I don't want to get too into it, but I hope. I guess what I'm getting at is that the logline as you've written it seems to be giving a lot of importance. Like the fact that you'd mentioned this other guy in the logline makes it sound like he's going to be sort of an important character in the movie, whereas maybe you haven't made that determined that yet. You feel like he is. Okay, so
I feel like he is.
Okay, so you might need to just like reduce this to one sentence in such a way that we can tell what's important, and. It's probably just like, because I was thinking if that guy is only exists to be someone that she glimpses and then starts to suspect the world may be still there, then your logline may not even need to mention that guy at all. It might just be something like, when she suspects that the world may actually not be destroyed, a sheltered girl must must escape from her house, or must outwit her mother to escape from her house, something like that, or like it's a very, very simple premise that we don't need all this explanation and setup.
Yeah. I mean, I'm struggling, I think, because I don't fully know the story yet myself. But, I mean, I think one of the mysteries would also be, like, who is she? Because, I like the idea of us going back and forth of, has the world really ended? Like, you can do it in a way where, because it's all from her point of view, right? So it'd all be we'd be seeing only what she can see. So maybe she gets some evidence that the world really has ended, and then other evidence that it hasn't, and it's all contradictory. But also the question is, like, who is she and where did she come from? Because I don't think her mum's her mum.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So
that's interesting stuff. You might need to just, I guess, bake the idea a little more to figure out what's important enough to include, like what you're sort of, what's going to make up the substance, like the middle of the story. Is it going to be, we have some other character that's is sort of like, I mean, it's like 10 Cloverfield Lane essentially, but that has three characters, right? And we can therefore, by just having one other person, it's like a totally different dynamic, and it radically changes the entire thing. But I would try to phrase it maybe. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was thinking at, like, say, the midpoint of introducing another character that kind of goes along with the mum, and so we then start to believe it's real, but then maybe that other character is being coerced or forced to for some reason. I kind of thought that might make an interesting twist. Sure,
I could see that. I think it might be worth mentioning in the logline. But in any case, I would just probably rephrase this something like, like when she realizes the world hasn't actually been destroyed, a sheltered girl must outwit her controlling mother to escape the house. Something like that would just be a really simple expression of what the story is.
Right.
So you don't have to use exactly that, but hopefully that just is like, it should be that, if it's that simple of a movie idea, it should be that simply expressed, I feel.
Yeah.
All right, any questions on this?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but she doesn't actually realise that the world has hasn't actually been destroyed. She kind of suspects, because that's pretty much the premise of the whole film, is that she doesn't know the truth, and it's this big thing of, if she leaves the house and her mum is telling the truth, she'll die. So although I know the truth, that's like the result at the end where we find out that actually the world hasn't ended. She does that. The whole film, the whole concept of the film is that she doesn't actually know.
Well, in that case, you could write when she suspects that the world hasn't been destroyed. It's just that doesn't really sound like an inciting incident, starting to suspect something. So I see why in this case you have pointed out what the specific incident is that causes her to suspect that the world may not be destroyed. In any case, I just used realized there because it sounds more like a definite moment rather than a process. Does that make sense?
I just feel like, I do, yeah. I just feel like putting realised kind of gives away the whole film in the logline, as in gives away the ending.
Right.
And the tension is on, she doesn't know the truth.
I see. Okay, so maybe just find a more definite incident that you can quickly summarize rather than having to explain every step of how she sees the guy through the window and stuff like that. But if you can make it feel like an inciting incident rather than over time she slowly comes to suspect something, then it will just be much clearer.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane, somebody mentioned in the chat. That was a good one. Also, I will just mention there's a Danny Boyle sci-fi horror thriller called Sunshine that is one of my favorite movies and is quite well known. So you may need to think of a slightly different title, perhaps. Okay, let's move on to our next one. Sorry, my brain is still a little goofy, so at some point I may ask if Nacho is willing to step in and take over for me. If he's not, that's okay, and we may just need to end a little early. I will. Hey, Nacho.
Sure, I'll just be your backup here, I guess.
Okay. Thanks, man. So let's go on to the next one for now. There's a chance I can power through it. I can just feel the juice escaping. The juice escaping. It's the worst thing I've... Put it back in the jar. Okay, let's go to our next one down. Let's see, who shared after Becky? Was it Tom? Or was it Jay? Maybe we need to do this in a separate channel. I think that's usually the most useful way to do this. Okay, so I think it's Tom. So let's bring up Tom. Go on, Tom. Is this the one 30 years after... Oh, wait. Is this just a fanfiction of Quantum Leap? So I've invited you up. You'll have to click the accept button at the green bar. Should look like this.
It worked.
Okay.
It worked.
Great. Yep, we hear you fine.
I wouldn't say it's a fan fiction. Okay, it's a fan fiction, but it's in script form, so it's okay.
Okay, so, and this is a movie, right?
Sorry.
It is a series.
Oh, this is a further feature boot camp today, so we're doing feature ideas. Do you have a feature that you want to look at as well?
Oh, I'll step down, I'm sorry.
Oh, no big deal. We have TV class meets Fridays at 6, so you can come to the next one if you want.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom. All right, let's move on to our next one. I think Jay, the Omnifractal Prelude. Wow, what a title! So I've invited you to speak. There we are. Hi, Jay.
Hi. Hello.
So why don't you tell us about this one?
I'm proud of myself because I used big boy words.
Great.
So that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's sci-fi, and the logline goes, when a team of astronauts are unexpectedly pulled into a fractal dimension that contains the culmination of all existing information, they must navigate through the mysterious and dangerous world while facing their own emotional conflicts. As they uncover deeper secrets hidden within the fractal dimension, they realize that their journey has profound implications, not only for humanity but for the very fabric of reality itself and life itself. But yeah.
All right.
Uh,
Thanks for that.
It's
Go ahead.
yeah. So it's where these astronauts they go to collect biological samples for another planet that they plan on settling in, colonizing, but they unexpectedly get pulled into, I wouldn't call it like a dimension, but it's like a pocket reality where everything is just made of 3D fractals. Well, basically, one day I just got stoned and I watched this like really trippy fractal like videos with like cool music, and I was just imagining myself just going through it. There's like 3D version of that, and since it's mathematical, it's an infinite version of just infinite fractals, and they're made of every information to ever exist, and it's a complex universe, and so the whole concept, like the point to this, is to focus on the implications of discovery and what it could mean for everybody if you could have every information that you want. What happens if it falls into the wrong hands or the right hands? I mean, at that point, it wouldn't matter, if you could make a world, if you can make the world a better place when you have every information to everything that you've ever wanted. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond everything. So it's more psychological and philosophical, and it focuses on the characters' personal journeys through it and realizing and going through existential crises in that universe, in a physical form, not just in their head, actually experiencing it. So that's what I have.
Okay, thank you for sharing. I'm really struggling to understand this one, and there's a lot of words here, but I don't understand what we're doing in the movie in the slightest. What is the character's goal?
The character's goal. Okay. Well, the character's goal is to escape and go back home.
Okay, to escape and go back home.
In short, yes.
Got it. And how do they do that?
They don't. They
don't?
all die.
They all die. Okay. How do they attempt to do that? Is there something that do they have some kind of objective in mind?
Okay, so I've been writing the script, but for the most part, I keep it, how do I say it? Like a mystery that they wouldn't get out of the ship for the most part. It's more about some astronauts going outside and like not returning. It's something like The Mist,
Right.
But in a different setting. And the conflicts that I focus on this movie is like they want to go back home, but they can't go back home because if they leave, they take back something that might have implications that could change everything that they've ever known. So that's like the main conflict that they go through.
I don't understand. And so I think, a couple things. Let's just go top down, starting with the biggest things. Main character. You need a main character to sort of focus and hinge this journey on. All the movies that you listed all have really clear main characters. Who's the main character of Interstellar? It's Cooper. Who's the main character of Annihilation? It's Natalie Portman's character. Who's the main... You see what I mean? So, like, although those movies have other characters that are important too, focus on the main one and that character's emotional journey and what objective are they trying to accomplish. There's a lot of this that we just assume that you included. For instance, they must navigate they're facing their own emotional conflicts. We assume that every character is facing emotional conflicts in a movie. You don't need to. You only have a limited amount of words to use in a logline. It's not a hard limit, but we should try to avoid including redundant information or things that we otherwise would know. So try to rephrase this in terms of when inciting incident. So I'm with you so far. When a team of astronauts is sucked into an alternate dimension or a weird geometric dimension or whatever it is, an adjective protagonist must specific tangible goal before they get trapped there forever, I think is what you're maybe saying, or maybe before. Is there some sort of threat? Are there monsters in this dimension? Like, is there some kind of antagonist? It seems like maybe no.
There are.
There are.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
there
In
who's
a
the
way.
antagonist?
The antagonist is the dimension itself. It is not actively trying to kill them, but it's trippy. Like the way, like if you get directly exposed to the environment, your brain just crumbles with the weight of all information. So you basically just die, like in a
Okay.
hostile environment.
So they'll just die if they stay there too long. That's the
Yeah,
urgency of
yeah.
theirs. Okay. So before the dimension kills them, maybe would be your
Yes.
like last part of your logline. But anyway, one single sentence. When inciting incident, an adjective protagonist
Mm-hmm.
must conflict before stakes. So it might be like they must find the wormhole. They must reach the pyramid. Like find the specific thing that they have to do. Even if they fail, it doesn't matter if they fail. But we at least want to know what we're watching people attempt to do and what some of those challenges might look like. We don't care about the philosophical implications of the story as much. That's got to be subtext. You've got to just like have that in the script. And then the logline tells us the brass tacks. What are we watching a person try to do? So whose story is this is our major question. And then the adjective that you use to describe them is going to sort of tell us what is their emotional motivation or how are they changing. Like what is Cooper trying to do in Interstellar? Well, he's a father that's trying to fix his relationship with his daughter, right? So we have that as the center point of the story, and we understand by accomplishing this external objective, he will be able to get back to his daughter. And that's so we understand the motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
go ahead.
similar to that. Yeah.
It's similar to that. Okay.
So the main, the protagonist, he breaks up with his ex-girlfriend, who's the head of the organization that sent them to space because she sabotaged his missions, like his previous missions, so he wouldn't get in.
Wow.
So he finally gets in and he goes on the mission, but then on the mission itself, he finds out why she didn't want him to go. Then he wants to return back to her to fix their relationship. I don't know if it's too much like Interstellar.
No, it's not that much like Interstellar. It's about a guy trying to get back to his ex that he broke up with. What? How is that? That's the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he broke up with her because she, she couldn't reveal that she sabotaged his missions because she's the boss of him, basically.
I don't think you're supposed to date your boss normally. Like, do you see how even on its surface, it's sort of like a weird setup that he was dating like the head of NASA basically, and then she was.
No.
Go ahead.
I mean, well, in this future, space travel is not so like it's uncommon, but it's still common enough that they have regular space missions
and regular
so
workplace
have,
relationships. I mean, like you're not supposed to date your boss.
I mean,
this is a big HR concern.
I mean, hey, there's no HR, okay? Not in this universe.
Okay, maybe you could. I mean, yeah, maybe if it's like a future Star Trek kind of utopia where it's like we don't use money, love is free in the future, like all that kind of. Maybe that is the world that you're painting,
Yeah.
but it's just a weird. Like everyone understands a father trying to get back to his daughter, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back to my ex that I broke up with because I thought she was sabotaging me, but then I later learned why she was sabotaging me is a bizarre motivation for your main character. It's like maybe it makes sense in the story, but in the logline, we try to want to kind of highlight what is
that's the problem.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't put it in the log line that he's trying to get back to someone he's broken up with.
Well, that to me indicates there's a story problem that your motivation for your character is just weird to begin with. Like if you feel like you can't include it in the logline because it would spoil the logline in some way, then it could be that element is just mistuned. And it seems like maybe you're already writing the script, so I haven't read the script. Maybe this all makes perfect sense. So don't take this as like the final word on this. But just based, and maybe it's how you're conveying it, or maybe it's just like questions, or maybe my brain is goop right now, so it's not the best. Like I'm just not processing super well. But it should be so simple that it can be expressed in one sentence. When the world is threatened, a father leaves to go find a new planet for Earth for people to live on. I'm doing a terrible job of pitching Interstellar, but and then once he succeeds at that, he will be able to return to his kid who, by the way, is getting older every time. Like that's the main sort of cost of that journey is that he's going to miss their whole lives. And that's just really easy to understand and root for and relate to. So it may be that you need to kind of just go back to the basics of what is motivating your character, especially if it's like that's sort of the emotional centerpiece of the whole movie that everything revolves around. And so it may be that you just need to sort of assess that a little bit, but regardless, trim this down to one single sentence. When inciting incident, an adjective protagonist must specific tangible conflict or else stakes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, hope that helps. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Jay was great at taking all this feedback, by the way. I know it is difficult sometimes to hear elements of your idea don't work, but this is like essential to build these skills of taking in, like, even if you think everything that I'm saying is stupid and wrong, at least put a nice face on it and be like, okay, well, thanks, I'll see how I can incorporate that. And then, like, because you're not going to like every note you get, and sometimes the people giving you notes, you will not have, they're not writers. Like, a lot of the time they're not writers, so you have to sort of decode what they mean. In this case, I am a writer, so I feel, at least I hope, that I'm able to give incisive commentary. But regardless, just try to practice this skill of receiving notes and rolling with the punches, and you don't have to take any of those. They're not like instructions for you to do. It's not like you have to then go and revise it. You can do whatever you want afterwards. This is all just sort of advice to help you. So great job, Jay. Okay, let's move to our next one. It looks like Judea? Or, wait, no, hang on, I skipped someone before, didn't I? Who did I skip before?
Yeah, I think you said you were going to do Brian.
You're right.
Next.
Brian, you ready now? Brian D, is that right? Hey, Brian, your mic's on mute, just so you know.
There's that button. There it is. That never fails to amuse.
Okay.
So, hi, thank you. I went straight down the middle, trying to take your advice, do something simple. And I just put in a new version there.
Great.
So,
okay.
There we go.
Can you read it out for us?
Sure. So just a log line, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when a notorious mobster brings an advanced race car prototype into the city, a conflicted street racer must join a heist to get a chance to drive it before the cops drag her and her friends to jail.
All right, thanks for that. And it's called Festiva?
Festiva. Yeah, that's actually a play on an old Ford car called the Ford Festiva, and the character's name is Forbes Festiva. So it's I'll bring that up during the script, obviously.
Okay. So your comps are Altered Carbon meets Baby Driver, action, comedy, and cyberpunk. So I would just pick 2 genres. Try not to do 3.
Yeah.
So pick what the most relevant things are. The comps sound cool. I want to make sure they sound like they're describing this. When a notorious mobster brings an advanced race car prototype into the city, a conflicted street racer must join a heist to get a chance to drive it before the cops drag her and her friends to jail. I feel like I'm going down a staircase and I skipped a couple steps. So what is the racer conflicted about?
Yeah, I understand that. That's actually a great question. So the idea behind the character, and I'm not able to get into the logline yet, is that she's had some trouble in school. She's like early 20s. She's had trouble in school, and she's trying to get her life straight. And all of a sudden, this magnificent opportunity comes up. She wants to go and her primary intent is to drive fast. Like, that's all she really cares about. Again, very simple premise. And she sees this car come into town. It's like, I need to get my hands on that. And the only way I can get into it is to sort of team up with it in this heist, which of course will drive her deeper into trouble, give her more family problems, and generally ruin her life if she goes.
Why does she need to drive the car? You're saying she just wants to?
Yes. This is
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, this is why I'm experimenting with the comedy idea. It's just like an overwhelming urge for her. This is what she likes to do. I think Baby Driver is the comp in that sense. It's like, he likes to do what he does, but he's being forced to do something that he loves by this leverage that Kevin Spacey's character has over him.
Baby Driver loves to drive. He doesn't love to commit crime, though. So,
right. Yes.
But in this case, you're saying she wants to so badly that she's willing to ruin her life, essentially, to get a chance to drive this cool car?
Yes.
And that's your main character?
Yeah, bad person.
I guess it's just more just like a bizarre motivation to begin with, but maybe
I would not disagree. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just look at the rest of this. There might be a way to make it work.
Yeah.
A conflicted street racer must join a heist. Well, it's not, the word must here is sort of being used. Usually it implies that they actually have to do that, but in this case, it would just be a conflicted street racer joins a heist to get a chance to drive it. Just drive. Does she want the car?
She wants the car herself. She knows she can't own it, so she wants this opportunity to get behind the wheel just once.
Wait, what is so she's willing to commit crime and ruin her life, but just to drive the car, not even to steal the car or to have it? I don't get it.
Those are really great questions. So I think what I'd have to do is frame it almost in sort of an addiction. If I'm going to continue with it, right? Like I would have to frame it almost in an addiction form, where people will do stupid things to get a hit of that, that excitement of driving the car. So I'd probably have to play that up. This is a pretty new idea to me. I'm not sure I have all the answers yet.
It's totally fine. Yeah, it's just my questions are mostly just like these basic things, like
right.
If the character is being compelled to do this or something like that, then it would just make more sense to me if you say she's trying to steal the car rather than she just wants to drive it a single time. I'm like,
yeah.
It's like a complex motivation within a complex motivation, and I think you just need to find the simplicity here.
Right.
So she must join a heist.
Thinking I was being so simple.
No, so that's the thing is that the action might be simple, but the reasons why it's happening aren't.
Got it.
Because this is, again, a really difficult thing to understand and relate to. I mean, I don't think very many people have ever... Like, we can get wanting a cool car, but I can't imagine ruining my life for just a chance to drive it one single time. If you're already willing to go that far, why not keep it? So that's kind of just my thought there.
Good point. Let's never steal it. Thank you.
So, yeah, maybe... And I mean, if you really want to do the sort of storyline of she is essentially a villain protagonist who is doing this for entirely selfish reasons and does not have any reason she needs to do this. Like, at least most crime stories are like, they have a family they need to provide for or something. Like, there's some actual reason why they need to commit this high-stakes crime. In your case, if your character doesn't succeed, nothing happens. She can back out at any time. There's no stakes. I mean, the only stakes are ones that she's creating for herself by getting involved in this crime that she didn't even need to get involved in. So it may be that this isn't the protagonist, maybe? You may need to find somebody else. Maybe think of it something like when her best friend, when she discovers that her best friend is a serial car thief, a blank main character has to stop her friend, or she gets dragged into the heist, or something like that. So our main character maybe is somebody that this thief has dragged into this, and our main character is trying to stop them or get out of it or avoid, the consequences racking up or avoid going to jail, something like that I could really understand and relate to if this was more like the villain of the movie than the main character, or if we had somebody to sort of root for or be on their side. Does this make sense? You don't have to do this, but that's just
it totally makes sense. Yeah.
In that case, the mobster might be the hero. I don't know. But it's mentioning that character here makes it sound like that's going to be a really relevant person. So if it's just like when a new car hits the market or when it is being shown in town, something like that, you don't need to mention that other character if they aren't going to play a big role. So you're sort of making that promise that character is going to be really relevant in the story. Okay. So yeah, in terms of basic motivations in this one, I would maybe, try to find a different main character or, think of, is there like a central relationship that we can really lean on here? We can be like sort of rooting for that person to get out of the consequences of this because their friend is getting them into trouble, and it's more like that kind of story. That might work. Or maybe it's like you just need to find some better reason why she's doing the heist. But if you don't do either of those things, it's difficult to invest in this journey because this just feels like somebody wants to play real life GTA, and if they don't, that nothing bad happens. They're just getting into trouble for no reason. It just feels like we're watching a crazy person.
Right. And I live in Los Angeles, so we have plenty of that.
We do have plenty of that. That's true.
So all I have to do is walk out to my street. So.
Absolutely. Okay. So I hope that helps. Any questions on this one?
It does, yeah. I'm sorry, what was your question?
Do you have any more questions that I can answer on this?
No. I mean, I this was a very early idea to try to play it right down the middle, and I'm understanding that it's more complex than that. So I appreciate that a lot. That was quite elucidating. Thank you. Sure.
A cyberpunk car heist is a cool idea. So that the basics of that, like a car heist movie set in a cyberpunk world, is a great core of this. But maybe think of how that can be more central to your premise in some way. It might be helpful as well. Like, is your main character like a hacker? And a hacker, like in the future, a hacker could steal a car, right? Nowadays, it'd be tough for a hacker to steal a car. But in a cyberpunk, think of something that can only happen in a cyberpunk world, maybe, and see if you can link that a little. I mean, the fact that it is a prototype super fast car is cool. But primarily, it's just gonna be a faster than normal car, right? Unless it can do stuff. Right. Can it do cool stuff?
Yeah. Not in my imagination. No, I mean the idea was it was like a cyberpunk implant, so you sort of bond with the car in this way. And,
Oh, that's really cool.
Direct neural interfaces. And hopefully we would have an opportunity to show that she can do it better than anybody else who's tried it, and the car sort of really is her car. These are all tropes, obviously, but I was trying to experiment with them.
I think that all sounds cool, and that would be worth incorporating into the logline if that's going to be a big element of the story.
Yeah.
Okay, hope that helps. I know it's an earlier idea, so obviously early ideas will still get a lot of get more feedback than more developed ideas. But the bones are here. I like the basics of it, so I think if you just make a couple tweaks to the motivation and the goal of the character, and maybe find that a little bit different focus of the character, then you'll have something for sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I think Judea was up next. She's still here? Yep. So coming up today, we'll look at the Cinder's contracts.
Sorry, I couldn't click the accept, so I just did mod things.
It's all good. Can you read this out for us? Or tell us about this?
Yes, I will. Let me just scroll up quite a bit.
I also pasted it into the video if you just click the video feed.
Oh, oops. Well, I already scrolled up. Sorry.
It's all good.
After she's humiliated during a royal ball, a vindictive peasant girl must make a contract with a jaded demon to win the heart of the prince and escape her family before her meek stepsister gets to improve.
All right.
So,
thank you for sharing this. So let me just make sure that I understand the basics. So it's called the Cinder's Contract. It's a rom-com. Is this like a fantasy rom-com, I guess, is what you're saying, right?
What? Sorry.
There's demons.
Yeah,
this is a fantasy
rom-com.
movie. Okay, so fantasy. Okay. Comps are Cinderella and Mean Girls, maybe? Okay. After she's humiliated during a royal ball, a vindictive peasant girl. Why is a peasant at a royal ball?
It's sort of like, because it's like Cinderella, it's like that whole, prince is available, bachelor, gotta invite all the girls.
They don't invite the peasants, though, do they? Why would they?
I don't know. I thought they did.
No, definitely not. So royalty only wants to marry other royalty. If you marry a peasant, that's called a lowborn marriage, and that's usually really frowned upon. So I think you need to clarify why. If that's like a plot element, then you might need to clarify that. In any case, you could just say she's a servant at the ball or something, right? I mean, if it's Cinderella, she's literally the cleaning girl, isn't she?
Oh, she's not Cinderella. I was going to make this about the stepsister, one of the stepsisters.
About a stepsister? But
Yeah.
But, okay. So, but in any case, I just have that question right off the bat of, well, why would a peasant be at a royal ball? So if there's some reason that we need to, if
I
there's
guess
some
I
rule.
just thought they were peasants initially, but I'll just change it to like something else.
Change which element? So the part that she's a peasant, the part that she's at the ball, which part?
Peasant part.
Okay, so she's a royal.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So after she's humiliated during a royal ball, a princess or something, a countess something, must make a contract with a gentlemanly demon to win the heart of the prince and escape her family before her meek stepsister gets to him first. How are these events connected? How is why is this the inciting incident? Why is being humiliated at the ball the reason that she must now win his heart?
Because like I'm going to make it play out like, Cinderella, where Cinderella, gets to the prince and the stepsisters sort of humiliate themselves while at the ball.
But so I'm asking, so why is the ball the inciting incident of her getting humiliated is the inciting incident that sets the whole movie in motion somehow?
Yeah, because like that's where they meet the prince in the first place.
Oh, so is meeting the prince the inciting incident?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then being humiliated is not even a relevant element for the logline. I think it's when she meets a prince, she meets the man of her dreams and maybe falls in love with him, something like that.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when she meets this prince and falls in love, she must make a contract with a demon to win his heart and escape her family before her meek stepsister gets to him first, gets to the prince, not the demon, I'm assuming you mean, right? So why does she have to make this contract? What's standing in the way?
I guess mostly like herself and her family. She feels like she can't really get to him through like normal means.
Why would her
with all
family
this
not want her to marry a
competition in the
prince?
way. It's sort of like it's just all this competition in the way, I guess. Her sisters and her mother being like terrible and all this stuff.
Oh, it's the competition. So she feels like she feels like he'll choose someone else over her. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this story sounds a little more like when she meets the man of her dreams, but it turns out there's a long line of suitors in the way. A vindictive princess or something needs to make a contract to sort of... Are you saying we're going to like mind control him to love her? Or what do you mean exactly by win his heart?
Just like sort of... it'll be like, try to make her more desirable in a way, but not like mind control him.
Oh, she needs a demon just to give her like a makeover?
Like, you know how the fairy godmother works? Like that. I just wanted to make it like a demon contract.
Right, but Cinderella is a peasant girl that gets turned into, or she gives the impression of being royalty through the magic. She gets a fancy dress, she gets like the carriage.
Right, so they are like peasants because like, how did her stepfamily get there then?
I don't remember. So there's going to be differences between the fairy tale versus, are you talking about the Disney version, which is different than the original, like, Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale? So I'm not sure the specifics of Cinderella, but just in terms of your story, I think that we just need to, like, if we need to contact a demon to do this, it feels like the demon would have to do something magic and important, like, in Cinderella's case, make her... essentially, you give her a glow-up makeover, fancy, turn you into a princess kind of thing. I can see how...
Yeah, I guess I would like her to be like... What?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I guess I would like her to be like something of like, low-born status.
Okay, and so in that case, what's standing in the way of her being with him is the fact that she's not a princess. So that is what you would need to frame sort of the conflict around. She... I guess then the question would be, is she doing this to win the heart of the prince, or like I guess just the order of information is mixed up a little bit for me now, but regardless, maybe just make some of those choices about your character's background and what exactly this contract is doing. I hope that this has been helpful so far. I just was like missing some of those basics. Does that help with this, or do you have more questions on this?
I think it helps.
You think? Sorry, you think no? Your mic may have cut out for 1 second.
I think it helps. I guess I'm trying to figure this out.
Okay, well, if you work on it a little bit and bring it to the next one or to the next lab, then I'm glad to give you feedback on the revision.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much for sharing. Do we have more? Are there more on the list? I think there was one more, wasn't there? Taylor, it looks like. Did I do yours already? No. Let's do Taylor's. This is why we have to do a separate channel for these, because otherwise in the order they're posted, it's just so hard to keep track of. Hi, Taylor.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. What have we got for us today?
Let me pull it up. I posted it further.
I'll paste it in the video feed. There you go.
Oh, cool. Got it.
So, why don't you start us off by reading this one?
Yeah, so I don't have a title for it yet. It is a sci-fi feature that I would compare to Lord of War, the Nicolas Cage movie, meets Independence Day, with the logline of, as extraterrestrials systematically decimate the planet, a scrappy arms dealer must obtain futuristic weapons within 7 days to defend his impoverished native country.
All right, thanks for this. Lord of War meets Independence Day sounds cool. As extraterrestrials systematically decimate the planet, is the planet Earth?
Yes.
It is, okay. A scrappy arms dealer must obtain futuristic weapons within 7 days to defend his impoverished native... What's his native country?
So right now, it would definitely just be made up. I'm trying to think of a name. But it would be comparable to like a South Pacific island country. Like somewhere between like Hawaii and Australia. I would say comparable to like Fiji, Samoa.
Okay, so he's trying to defend his sort of like homeland. That's the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, and why? Hang on. A scrappy arms dealer must obtain futuristic weapons within 7 days. So he's going to be able to obtain and operate weapons that can fend off all of the entire armada of alien forces?
So that I definitely haven't gotten to that part of the thought process yet. Right now, still kind of in the outlining process. Where I'm at is that this is him working alongside the government to be able to broker deals. It's a really small country with pretty minimal military, and he gets arrested by Interpol for doing an illegal arms deal. This is like right before this invasion occurs. He's deported and jailed in his home country. When the invasion happens, the government comes to him about how to broker arms deals, and he starts working alongside them to be able to do this. And in the process, starts realizing that just normal bullets aren't going to cut it, and they're going to have to start looking for more futuristic weapons that will be able to handle this situation.
And so if you get big enough ray guns for the army of your little army island nation, we're going to be able to fend off a force of aliens that's big enough to exterminate the entire Earth?
Yeah, so right now, I haven't really ironed that all out.
Okay.
Basically, where I'm at is that I know what I want to do is an arms dealer has to figure out a way to broker deals to get military power to be able to fight aliens. It wouldn't necessarily be just guns. It could be vehicles. I'm really trying to stay away from Independence Day stuff, but it may go into that direction of being able to obtain just alien weaponry.
Okay. It feels sort of like, I mean, I know you said you may just have to do some more thinking on the basics of this premise, because just in terms of like motivation and urgency, his quest feels kind of pointless. I mean, the fact that, in this version of the logline, the idea of a weapons dealer trying to protect humanity through arms deals in a futuristic sort of sci-fi setting is a cool idea. So don't take this as me saying the basis of this idea is dumb. It's definitely not. But the fact would be that unless you phrase it in such a way that he's trying to get like a bomb that can destroy the alien mothership or something like that, or like, I don't know, a force field that can surround his entire island indefinitely, and then it just feels like if your aliens are so powerful that they're exterminating everyone else in the entire world, the might of every military combined, then your character would have to get something that could actually hold them off or actually turn the tide. And the sort of things that an arms dealer would be able to procure, I'm just struggling to understand what that is, or who he's procuring them from, or what exactly the challenge is. What is the conflict? Like, what is standing in the way here? Is there an antagonist, or what is, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think we just go ahead.
Yeah, so antagonist, I wouldn't say that as of now I have a, direct antagonist, and it would be more the time frame and then the impending threat of this, and then like I know it'd be boring, but like bureaucratic red tape of doing these deals and having to like convince the government like this is how it's gonna have to be done. So I guess like that is kind of where I'm at with an antagonist, but nothing super concrete at the moment.
So it might work a little better if it's just sort of saying, if you turn down the power of the aliens a little bit, and we say, like, the world is currently at war with them. Some people are winning, some aren't, okay? And because of that, this island nation, if it got enough ray guns and shit, it actually could hold out and survive. But do you see how if the aliens are exterminating the Earth, I don't believe that an arms dealer would be able to get something that would be able to save just his nation indefinitely forever. His quest feels like it's not actually important. They're going to die anyway. So do you see how maybe you could, like, just shape the world a little bit differently so that it feels like he could actually do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't really thought of that. I had kind of gotten stuck in this, like, thought of, this war hasn't occurred at the start. It does, but maybe moving into it being an ongoing war that we're dropped into would be able to kind of fix out some of those holes.
That might kind of work, yeah. It starts with the war already going on. That's like the normal state of the world. That could be cool. We haven't really seen much of that, so that would be neat. I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, we just need to feel like his quest could actually reasonably succeed. Otherwise, it feels like, why even bother doing this? And it doesn't feel like he's trying to beat the aliens or win. If his goal is just protect his home country, then it needs to feel like that's achievable within the scope of his abilities. Unless you want to change it, so he's trying to give us the thing that will kill the aliens. Like if they have some weakness or something, and he needs, and like I love this idea. Think of, does he need to maybe go to the galactic market and get the one thing that can kill the aliens, so that it's like a special kind of bullet that can pierce their armor, or something like, it's some poison that will kill them, something like that. Maybe we can release it into the atmosphere to make it hostile to them or something along those lines. But in that case, your character would be doing intergalactic arms dealing, which I think is personally a great way to take it. You don't have to use that, but I think it would be way cooler. Maybe not way cooler. Maybe, I mean, of course you can reshape what you have to make it make a lot of sense and like really work. But just where my mind goes is, what if we had to get the thing to beat the aliens from other aliens? That could be cool. Or maybe it's like the Covenant, where there could be like different species that are all underneath this faction, and we can like maybe deal with some of them. Maybe think like maybe District 9, where there are some of them. The war's been going on for a while, so some of them just live on Earth by now, and maybe some of them might have the secrets that we need. Does this make sense? Am I giving you some ideas here, or steering you way off course?
No, definitely. I'm actually typing these all down in the sketchbook right now.
Okay.
Yeah, great ideas, and has me thinking in a better direction than I was an hour ago.
Cool. Hope that helps. I know it's sort of me saying the basics of this are not exactly clicking into place, but just the conflict is cool, and the idea of an arms dealer being someone who is trying to help save humanity, or at least his home, especially in the sci-fi context, is cool. So there's really cool stuff here. I hope it just like a few tweaks to the motivation and the objective will really help this one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, do we have more? Feel free to weigh in now. I think, did Joya have one for us? Joya, did you post a logline and that you'd like to get feedback on? I'll invite you to speak if you'd like.
Yes, I did.
All right.
And I put it, I learned my lesson with last night. But I put it in a Google Docs. Whatever happens to it, I don't care. Because I had crossed out some things that were in the log line to see which one works better. So I have the document somewhere.
Yeah, so it seems like you'll need to turn on the sharing settings if you want me to open the document, but you can also just copy and paste the logline into our chat. So if you just highlight it and do Control-C or Edit Copy, and then click on our...
ahead, anyone with the link can view.
Then I'm looking at it now. It says I need access. I don't have access.
Oh, okay. Just kidding. Let's see. Must have. Oh, okay. Yeah, I changed it back. Okay. There it is.
I'll try again. All right, there it is. Okay. So why don't you read this out for us?
Okay. The title is Blood and Bone. It's a genre. It's a drama. Comps, John Q, The Heart of Christmas, which I just learned about like in the last half hour, which is some TV movie. The Big Sick. So the log line is, when her dying child needs might just leave that part out. Transplant. A timid mother must reconnect with her estranged family before her child dies. So I crossed out bone marrow and to find a donor match.
Why?
I didn't know if that makes it more. I didn't know if it made it better or more succinct or what, but
No, I would definitely don't cross either of these things out. This is all important information. So keep this. Bone marrow transplant, important to know. We need to know what she's doing in the movie to try to find a donor match that clarifies why she has to connect with her family. Yeah, leave all that. No, the logline looks really good. Is this another idea for the logline, or what is this one?
Yeah. That was another idea for the logline.
A timid mother finds herself forced to face her estranged. So, a lot of words we don't. Finds herself forced to face her. Well, you mean she must face her estranged parents? Like we just have too many words. Their family expectations and her self-worth. This is all internal character stuff. The first logline is way better.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because this is the external journey that we understand that the internal journey or the relationships will be. We will kind of infer that from what you have here, or that's like the subtext of the external journey. So yeah, use this first one, keep this stuff that you've crossed out, and it's in really good shape.
Yay. Okay.
Is there one member of the family? Sorry, I have just one more question for you, and then I'll take yours, of course. So if there's one member of the family, I think the mother, sort of, in what I've seen of yours so far, has seemed like the kind of center point of this. So if there's a way that you can, especially in a drama, mention that other character as opposed to just her estranged family, maybe she goes to visit her estranged family and must reconnect with her mother or something like that. In your case, I think she's willing to take a donation from anyone in the family, so that may not work, but just see if there's a way that it could work. If we want to know who that central relationship is with, because that's also the antagonist of the movie. And right now, it just feels like it could be centered around anyone in the family. Whereas I think that if there's like a center point for the conflict, then you'll want to mention that. Okay, what was your question?
Well, when I was looking at the second logline, I was thinking about the things that you'd said before you said them, and I was like, well, maybe I should just stop the sentence at estranged parents, then period.
Must reconnect with her estranged parents. That's how the logline would end. No, I think it's important to know to find a donor match. So, go ahead.
The second one. Finds herself forced to face her estranged parents, then just period.
Oh, okay. Then my questions would be why? To do what? Like, she is forced to face them. Why is she forced, you know? So I think the first one's much better just because it tells us exactly specifically what she's trying to do.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Any questions on this one? Thanks for sharing.
Work that mother angle, and thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. Looks like we have an update from Judea. If there's no new ones to do, I can look at updates because we have a little time. Samar has one. Okay, go ahead, Samar. So if there's anyone that I've missed, let me know now. Michelle, do you have a question, or do you have a logline? You can come up on the stage if you'd like. I think she may have accidentally left the room. No, she's there. So I've invited you. You'll have to click the accept button. Looks like this. So you're not muted, you're in the audience. We're in a stage channel right now, so you'll need to click the accept invitation to speak button that looks like this green bar. If you're on a tablet or something, you may need to turn it to the side to find it. The button won't click. Okay, maybe try leaving the room and rejoining, or you can restart Discord, see if that works. I'm going to do someone else's in the meantime as Michelle's fixing this issue. So did anyone else have a brand new logline for us that I've not gotten to yet? Samar, feel free to share yours in the chat. Oh, there it is. All right. I will invite you to speak. So title and genre would be useful to include as well. So you can tell us that if you want. Go ahead. I've invited you up. Michelle seems like she's having some trouble clicking the button, so you can just write it in the chat. Sure, yeah, you can just write your comment or question in the chat if you'd like. Samara, are you able to see the accept button? Okay, I've invited both of you guys up to speak. If either of you click the accept, then I can answer questions or look at your loglines. If not, I'll move back to looking at revisions if people want. All right, so we're going to move to Judea's revision, and until if somebody else, if one of you guys is able to accept the invitation and come up on the stage and speak, you're free to do that. But let's look at the new Cinders contract of Cinders. Romance, comedy, drama. It seems like romance and fantasy, or fantasy rom-com. You need to have fantasy in here somewhere.
I was about to change that.
Okay. So let's look at the new logline. Can you read this for us?
Yes. It didn't change much, but let me just change it to fantasy romance real quick.
Okay.
Let's see. Romance. Okay. After she meets the prince at a once-in-a-lifetime royal ball, well, I guess it would just be a ball at this point, a vindictive peasant girl must make a contract with a jaded demon to disguise her as a royal so she can win the prince's heart and escape her family before her meek stepsister gets to him first.
All right, so much better. So she meets the prince. She must make it. So is he like the guy of her dreams? Are they actually in love, or what's going on there?
For her, it's probably a one-sided love. She's like, this is my ticket out of here, and also like, he's handsome, that's a plus, kind of deal.
Oh, okay. So you mean to say this is just for selfish reasons? This isn't for the purposes of.
Yeah,
she
she's
doesn't
very
love him.
selfish. I want her to be like very selfish, and all that.
Okay, so her motivation is different from what most people would assume. So I would point that out in the logline. I would say, as her ticket out of poverty, vindictive peasant girl, all these things that you said before. So maybe try to clarify that that's why she's doing that in the logline, because that's important. She must make a contract with a jaded demon to disguise her as a royal. Sure, okay, I can see how, in a Cinderella kind of way, this would require a demon to do. So that she can win the prince's heart and escape her family before her meek stepsister gets to him first. If her stepsister is described as meek, why is she his first choice?
I guess, like, as it goes in, like, I guess I want it to be, like, he falls in love with her genuinely, the meek stepsister. Like,
he falls in love with he falls in love with the antagonist, essentially, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So she's now trying to... This is like an anti-fairy tale, then, where, so there's sort of like, they're in love for real, and she's trying to steal him away so that she can just get out of her situation. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's cool. I would just kind of mention that, like, something like, tell us that they're actually in love, so that's what a big part of the conflict is. It's not that there's a ton of...
Should I, like, change the first part? Like, after she meets her ticket out of poverty at a once-in-a-lifetime ball?
Something like that. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how to rephrase it specifically, but you might need to just incorporate all of these things we're talking about. Maybe just like, yes, of course, start with the inciting incident. But wait, did she not know there was a prince before or something?
She's never met the prince, but at this ball, she's like finally met him. Like, they know there's a prince. It's
right.
Just that, like, how is she gonna get to him?
So the problem is, she meets him at first, and he is not interested in her at all because she's a peasant, right?
No, not because she's a peasant, but mostly because of, like, her personality and her nastiness, kind of deal.
Oh, but then the demon's contract won't help her to fix her problem in that case, because you're phrasing it in such a way
That's like why I want like the demon to help her with that by like, you know, basically trying to change her.
But you said he's changing her into a royal, which is framing that as the main problem. When you're saying that...
but like when you're like a royal, there's all these like manners lessons and all this stuff going on. I guess that's what I wanted.
That's true, but in that case, I would just clarify that that's the crux of the problem. The problem wasn't that she wasn't a royal, it was that she was, like, rude, I guess you're saying? The prince didn't care about her rank or her station, which is very unusual for a prince, by the way, to not care about the rank or station of who they're marrying. A marriage is a political move in this time frame, where they're made for alliances and for... Go ahead.
It's not necessarily for marriage now, as like I took Nacho's suggestion to make it like peasants can go to this ball too kind of deal. So it's just like, you know, a ball for everyone.
Mm-hmm. But
so he's not really looking for a marriage partner at this moment.
But then the ball doesn't feel like the inciting incident of the story, even. Like, unless and especially if we're saying peasants can go to the ball and have just as much opportunity to marry royals as anyone else, then her transforming into a royal doesn't feel like it will solve her problem. Because that was never what was standing in the way.
Okay.
So maybe just some other, like, maybe world... Like, you can definitely do that. You can do that thing where you're like, in this kingdom, things work this way. You can totally make stuff up, especially, I like how you said it's the one sitting in your ball that anyone can go to. Something like that does make sense, I do understand. But it feels like there should still be a barrier between a peasant marrying a royal, right? That's just how the world works. Or normally it is. And it's an exception when, like, that's why there are fairy tales about, like, the prince actually falls in love with this girl and does everything for her, because that was, like, noteworthy to do. Or, like, to marry for love was considered, like, unusual, and, like, that's why there's stories about it. In any case, and I like how you're sort of angling this as the anti-fairy tale. It's like the Cinderella-ish story, but from the point of view of someone who's sort of bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you say, and I like the way that is sort of inverted by the fact that there is that true, like, he actually has fallen in love with her sister, and our main character is trying to steal him away just for selfish reasons. There is something interesting there with that. That is like an inversion of how fairy tales work. So I think that is fascinating. Just maybe look at just some of those basic elements of, like, how this, like, what she wants and what's standing in the way, and then the magic pact she's making should directly address that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, makes sense. Any questions on this?
I guess, like, I don't know how to word this.
Yeah, that's a lot of the time. That's the challenge of writing, is spending the time to figure out how to word it. So I'm glad to look at your revision whenever it's ready. But I think that's the extent of my brain soup feedback at the moment.
All right, thank you.
Sure, thanks for sharing. It does sound cool, so I would stick with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jadeo. All right, Samar, were you able to accept the invitation to speak? I've just invited you again. If not, we'll move to, it looks like Michelle has a new logline for us. Joya asks, I'm muted, right? I'm working hard to stay quiet. Yes, we're in a stage channel, so we can't hear anyone except the ones that I bring on the stage. Michelle says she's trying to reconnect to her computer so she can accept the invitation. Okay. I've invited Samar to speak as well, if he's able.
I think you sent it to me. Someone invited me.
Oh, did I?
On accident, maybe.
He says it doesn't work. I'm not sure why that would be. Seems a few people are having trouble with that today. Maybe there actually is something wrong with, maybe Discord is goofing up right now.
Yeah, sometimes if you're on the phone, it covers up, like, the top of your phone covers up the little button, but you may need to just I don't know. Not sure what to suggest now. But try turning it sideways. See if that helps.
Or try a different device if you have another computer, a phone, tablet, laptop, anything. Okay, so we have about 15 minutes. Hopefully they're able to get on stage and speak. But let me just ask, is there anyone else that I missed or that did not get their logline read? Anyone have any questions on anything we talked about today on the upcoming feature writing program or just on screenwriting in general?
It looks like we got Samar made it, and Becky and Alyssa and Carmen have some questions.
Okay. We'll start with Samar then. Hi, Samar. Your mic is muted, just so you know. You'll have to click the small gray microphone icon in the bottom left corner of the Discord window to unmute yourself. So you're. I hear Michelle. Hi, Michelle. We're trying to hear from Samar. If he's not able to unmute in a second, we'll move on to our next question.
Can you hear me now?
Hi. Yes, we hear you. We're waiting on someone else to answer, but I think that
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, we can go to them, and since now I can accept on my computer, I can do it after.
Yeah. No. Let's actually. It seems like he's having a little trouble. We can start with yours.
Try again, Samar. You were server muted, but now you're not.
Okay.
Hit the microphone button, Samar. You see the little microphone?
Samar can go ahead and go.
Yeah, Samar, do you see the little thing that looks like a microphone? This thing.
I see it flickering on and off.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, finally.
All right. So, are you ready to share your logline?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So.
I'll send it here. Talking about the script is talking about a mentally disordered boy and girl at high school. They suffer from a lot of rumors from their friends and classmates that they love each other. Some people say that they already in love and they are cheating on each other. And while they didn't even talk, just like their eyes when they look at each other, they interpret these looks according to many perspectives. And some scenes or some events happen, like the main thing is that they are suffering from mental disabilities, and they got into the psychiatric hospital several times, and they at the end meet again, and it's like something crazy. I can't understand what's the main point that I should focus when I'm writing the logline.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what I'm saying. It's the story at all. Yeah, I can say it.
Okay, so let me just
sure,
read it back and make sure that I understand the basics. So, two mentally disordered boy and girl in high school are skeptical about their love feelings for each other. They later are diagnosed with love delusion. I'm not sure what that is, and suffer to find the truth. I'm not sure what that means. I think I'm just struggling to understand what you're saying a little bit here. Is there a title and genre? Is this a romance movie?
Psychological drama and romance. The love delusion is a psychological term that refers to when someone thinks that someone is in love with him while it's not true.
Oh.
And while in this story, the truth is that they already love each other, but their psychiatrist diagnosed them with having delusional disorders about their love ideas.
Their psychiatrist tells them that they actually just think they're in love and that they aren't really?
The psychiatrist tells them that it's fake and it's not true.
Why?
Because they never talk to each other even once.
They never talk to each other? How? What? I'm kind of lost.
It's something so vague. Okay, okay. I think I need to explain more. But the story is just full of a lot of scenes and a lot of ideas. So maybe next time.
Yeah. So maybe try writing the logline with the format that we talked about here. So we want to know what is the event that starts the story. That's the inciting incident. So it goes like this: when or after inciting incident. So when something happens, when a boy, focus on a main character. So is it the boy or the girl? I guess we would ask. So when she meets this character, when she meets this guy, or when she falls in love with this guy, or when they start dating, whatever the event is that starts the story, an adjective protagonist. So you're gonna say a nerdy girl, whatever it is, like however we describe the person, must conflict, like they have a goal. A character should have a really clear goal. Before or else stakes. That's the thing that's like, what's going to happen if we don't succeed? Why is this important and impactful? So I think you should just try to focus on a really tangible character goal. So is it like, figure out what the problem is. What is the conflict? And then express it in terms similar to this that will tell us, like, whose story is this? What's standing in the way? And how are they attempting to overcome it?
Okay, thank you.
Sure, I hope that helps. All right, so I think we had a few more. Michelle, do you want to read your logline? Your mic is back to mute, just so you know. Michelle, are you still here?
Oh, sorry, I was pressing the wrong thing. Okay, let me get to where I wrote it, because I hadn't written it down until in this class.
That's okay. I've got it right here if you just want to look at the
Oh, okay,
screen.
yeah, that'd be fine. Okay. Okay, you go ahead and read it, because it's a little far away for me to read.
Okay. I can also just zoom in a little bit if you need. But when a meteorologist in 1900 Galveston, Texas, mismanages the hurricane report of a Category 4 hurricane, an unsuspecting doctor, his family, and neighbors must try to survive it as the storm threatens to kill them. All right. Thanks for this. So, go ahead.
It's based upon a real story. That's what it's I should put historical drama,
Sure.
because it's based upon a real event that happened in Galveston, which is just 50 miles away from Houston, and it's on the coast, obviously. And this is 1900, and there's no protections like we have. Like they didn't have a seawall. There's a big, like 20-foot seawall now in Galveston because of this. And anyway, so there's tons of houses destroyed. Thousands of people lost their lives, and Galveston, Texas at that time was the place to live. I mean, there were a lot of very wealthy people there. The Astors had a house there. And this guy Isaac, I forgot his last name, but this story concept is based upon the book Isaac's Storm. But I didn't want to use that because that's the name of that book. But it is also referred to as the storm of the century. And it was a Cat 4 hurricane, and we had a Cat 4 hurricane here in Houston a few years ago called Harvey, and so think of Harvey in the 1900s, that literally wipes out like 80% of this island, coastal community.
Okay.
And
So
anyway,
I've got some questions. Basic questions. What has this guy mismanaging a hurricane report? What has that got to do with the events of the story?
Okay, if he had
what does
not,
that even mean?
Okay, he mismanages the report. He actually tells people that it's going to be fine. You don't need to worry. You don't need to leave their homes. This is not going to be that bad. And they were used to flooding from smaller hurricanes frequently, like Cat 1 or 2. So they're thinking, oh, okay, we can survive this. And he lies to people. So I really instead of mismanaging, I should say he just I didn't know how to say, he lies about, so I could just say he lies about the hurricane report. When people ask him, well, they can tell a storm is coming, but he lies about it. He tells them that, oh no, everything's fine, and well, nothing of the same, nothing of that, of the like. And so, because he lies about this, people die. The building.
Okay, so is this guy a character in the movie, or is this just something that happens in the events of this?
Yes, he would be a character in the movie. I mean, I'm not good at writing lines, so
okay.
So Isaac, since it's historical, I would say his name because it's said in the book, and the man is dead now, so it's okay to call him out. The reason I want to do this in the future is because it's just a fascinating story to me,
mm-hmm.
And everybody here, everybody knows, oh yeah, the big hurricane in Galveston, but yes, he would be a character, but like I said, I just didn't know how to write him as the character yet.
Well, it sounds like, I guess I'm asking, not just does he appear in the movie, but is he important in the movie beyond just, like, it sounds like the majority of this is going to be about a family in their house trying to survive a storm. Is that right?
Well, what I kind of wanted it to be was about also him as the bad guy. First he seems like the good guy. He's a well-trained meteorologist. He goes to Galveston. He seems like he does a really great job at predicting the weather. But his ego gets involved, and this time he lies about how badly the storm is, about how bad the storm is going to be. And so I want that to be part of it. And then you said that, if you have at first I was going to write about, the town trying to survive, but you said, even in an ensemble, there's always like one person, that's the focus of things. So I thought, well, in reality, there was a doctor, and people kept showing up at his house, begging to live in his well-constructed home. So I thought, okay, he'll be, there'll be that focus. So, I don't know exactly what to do to make the meteorologist, the focus, and this doctor and his family and the neighbors. Because I'm trying to show about how this town is being destroyed, and at the same time, I focus on a group of people instead of the entire town.
Right. Obviously, yeah, that town has hundreds or thousands of people. We have to choose just our main characters carefully, right?
Right.
So I think that just the scope and the focus of this just feels like you need to make some choices on who's actually the most important character here. If this is mostly about if this is sort of almost like a contained thriller about a family in their house trying to survive a storm, then yeah, of course you're going to want to put this doctor at the center of it. If this meteorologist is actually going to continue to play a role in the story, then we're going to want to sort of know how he's factoring in. Is he with the family? Maybe something like that could make it more relevant, like they're sheltering in the same place. Could you do that?
No, actually, he in the real life they did not shelter in place, but the doctor did know the meteorologist. He kind of was a town celebrity, then afterwards he basically the meteorologist has to leave town because he's basically run out of town.
Oh, the story continues after the storm is over?
Well, yes, there are people who do survive. Not every single person is killed, on the island. So, I thought, well, if I could write a scene where the doctor, goes up and punches the meteorologist for lying, about this, I don't know, but
But they knew a hurricane was coming, right?
Yeah, not a Cat 4 though. He lied.
Okay.
He lied about. Here in Houston, Texas, we get hurricanes almost every year, and Harvey was a Cat 4. Okay.
But he also lives in that town, right?
Yes, but you need to understand. In 1900, a Cat 4 hurricane, they would have fled to Houston. Okay.
So it sounds like he made a mistake. It doesn't really sound like he maliciously lied. And it just feels like a weird thing to center the story on. That doesn't feel that urgent or relevant. I think watching people try to survive. Go ahead.
in reality, he did lie. He knew it was a Cat 4. Meteorology at that time was good enough for him to know the severity of the storm. And
Okay.
so he knew that it was a Cat 4. And he lied about the severity of it.
Why?
I think because I'm not too sure why. I think it was because people, my understanding from I haven't read the book. I watched the video about it, and I'm going to read the book in the future. I think the reason was that, he felt as if he told people the truth, they would lose confidence in him, which is stupid because, if he knew it was a Cat 4, okay, and he was afraid that people would lose confidence in him. And lying
If he was
only
right? Wait, what?
Right. I know, it makes no sense. That's the whole point. It doesn't make any sense why this man would lie. Now, if the movie is rewritten that he's mistaken, okay, he's not a bad character. He's just mistaken.
Yeah.
So
then why did we even mention it in the logline? It doesn't even feel relevant for the story.
Well, what I'm saying is that I want to try and make it as factual as possible, so, I'm not too sure why he lies, and nobody seems to really know 100% why he lied about this,
But is it that interesting of an answer? Is there a very interesting answer? It sounds just like a mistake. I mean, I don't get why that's such an important focus of the story. This is about a family trying to survive a storm. Forget about the guy lying about the meteorologist was wrong about how severe it would be, or downplayed how bad it would be. Maybe that just doesn't feel that important to me. I don't know why we would make that the focus of a survival drama about a family trying to live through a storm. Do you see what I mean?
Well, okay. I say it's relative because they didn't leave because they didn't realize how bad it would be. So without that, you don't have the drama. But had he not misrepresented or lied about it, yes, you wouldn't have any drama. But had he told people, then they would have, like I said, they would have fled to Houston, because Houston was pretty built up by then. It had like 200,000 people already, and so they would have, fled to there. So, there wouldn't be a whole lot of drama, but the fact that he misrepresented / lied about this, you do have drama. But at the same time, I'm thinking that there's going to be anger from the townsfolk, because they could have, been in a much better place than, if they knew what was going on. If he had just simply said, this is a horrible storm, you need to leave now.
But the importance of the action in your story is not who do we blame for this. I thought that this was mostly, the main action of this was taking place during the storm, like trying to survive the storm. Isn't that the focus of the story?
Okay. I haven't finished installing the coffee app.
Okay. So
Okay.
My recommendation for you is just leave out the stuff with the meteorologist. It doesn't sound relevant for the logline, even if that is part of the real history, or that's part of what comes up in the script as to why they didn't evacuate or something like that. You can include that, but for the logline, focus on the thing that is most pressing, relevant, urgent, interesting, which is when a hurricane threatens his home, a blank protagonist, adjective protagonist, must conflict before or else stakes. Make sense?
Okay, so yeah, okay, so the meteorologist is going to play a minor part in this, and that, okay, in this case he would be mistaken for the purpose of the script. That he doesn't.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's not the thing that causes the story to happen. The hurricane is what is the inciting incident. It's like, this is just a minor detail as to why the people weren't as prepared for it as they could have been. They still knew there would be a hurricane. So that's the inciting incident, when a hurricane threatens his hometown.
And they chose to stay.
Right, but that's because I don't. So I think your inciting incident is when a hurricane threatens his hometown. An adjective doctor must conflict before stakes. Try to phrase it in those lines, and I think you'll be in good shape.
Okay. I really appreciate it. And this isn't going to get written for probably a year.
Oh, wow.
Because I've got to read the book. I've got to do more research about it, because I want it to be as historically accurate as possible.
Sure. I understand.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you for sharing. All right, we're at the end of our time for today. Next week is going to be same time, same place, same channel for week 1. That is also a free class, so you can come with your revised logline if you got some feedback on it today, my brain will be working better next week, we hope. And we have other stuff coming up today. Nacho, do you want to tell people what we have coming up just today? There's table reads in an hour. There's Magic Fantasy, the Magic Mini Workshop at 5. Is there anything else? And thank you guys. Thank you, Taylor and Jay, for sharing and taking feedback so well. Are you there, Nacho? Oh, maybe not. That's okay. All right, I'll leave it on the list of upcoming classes for you guys, and I'm going to share this presentation with everyone who came out, so you can review these slides later. There's a bunch more I didn't get to, so there's lots more info on loglines, stakes, motivation, urgency, all these really relevant things for your story. All right, thanks so much for coming, guys. I'll see you later today at 5 Pacific time if you'd like to hear a little bit about magic. That's in 4 hours. Table read in 1 hour, so plenty of things going on and things coming up. I'll leave it on here for a minute, but I will close this one out. Thanks so much, folks. We hope to see you soon. Remember to sign up, scriptcamp.net/membership for your 2-week free trial of everything we do. Thanks, guys.